The week from October 20th to 24th unfurls like a storm compressed behind the gates of Fairmont Crest, where every character confronts the worst version of themselves. Anger left unspoken, fear of being replaced, guilt that erodes from within, and choices that demand a price. Fans of Beyond the Gates can feel the season shifting as a new, dangerously magnetic man steps into Uptown, while glittering trophies are being lifted somewhere else. Here, masks drop. Haley chooses a path whose final step is the death of the man she once called husband and a $10 million insurance payout masquerading as freedom. Ted drowns in remorse for sins that began when the woman he loved was mourning the rarest chances and the smallest losses, and Nicole walks along the edge between the part of her heart that wants to forgive and the logic that remembers every cut of betrayal. On the sidelines, Leslie bathes in the tiny triumph of a petty, poisonous game, never seeing that a smug smile is always the earliest omen of a fall. And over all of it, an unexpected reunion proves that family is not only a binding thread but also the knife that finds the softest spot. Monday, episode 154, opens with Leslie's grating euphoria after pulling the fire alarm. A clumsy stunt, mistimed, yet still enough to topple the fragile calm just beginning to glow between Ted and Nicole. They stood at a threshold where the past might have burned away and an old flame might have stirred in the ash, and the shriek of the alarm dragged them back to a reality where memories of miscarriages sit beside infidelity. In the stuttering light of the emergency system, the roots of Nicole's anger show themselves. Not simply because another woman was there, but because she felt kicked when she was at her most breakable. Elsewhere, Vernon cradles a secret meant for Anita, something both tender and reckless, perhaps a holiday melody he hopes to offer as a late balm. He keeps it hidden because he fears the hope in her eyes will go out all over again if anything falls short of perfect. When Vernon and Andre sit across from Danny and Anita, the conversation is no longer about right and wrong. It is about endurance. Two couples who once assumed their marriages would be annulled now must live with what they said, did, and failed to say or do. Andre has moved in. Danny tastes Bill's jealousy like a hot spice on the tongue, provocative but not nourishing a marriage wasting away, while Anita stares into the silence between the grown-ups and counts the cost of patience. Anxiousness travels the cords of Eva's neck as she senses her mother slipping on yet another mask, and she needs no details to understand that the alarm was no accident. At the same time, an unexpected romantic gesture finds Nicole like a warm breath after too much cold. If it is Ted, it is a flare from a heart putting itself on trial. If it is Carlton, it is the promise of a future free of betrayal. But by Tuesday, episode 155, feelings aren't allowed to linger. Nicole closes the book that has stolen her sleep for months with a goodbye embrace. Not because she has stopped loving, but because she has learned to respect herself. She lays a hand over the part of her life torn open by sterile clinics and negative results and lets the weight of her anger fall to the floor so she can walk away instead of turning to stone beside the memory. Kat tries to persuade her to overlook Leslie, but the story between Ted and Leslie is no longer an accident of cheating. It is a trench cut through the foundation of trust at the very moment Nicole needed an absolute shoulder. Elsewhere, Naomi studies her marriage like a swaying suspension bridge on the day she must face the truth. The desire to be a mother has never lived in her the way it blazes in Jacob. She has talked, analyzed, and even let Danny encourage her to believe life can be full without a child. But their fundamental difference does not vanish beneath pretty words. Jacob sees a future child as redemption for unspoken shortcomings. Naomi sees it as a life sentence handed down to her autonomy. No one is wrong. Yet each feels betrayed that the other refuses to become the version they want as night gathers. Haley calculates with a coolness that reads like a resignation letter from her marriage written in poisoned ink. She measures how best to hide the taste in something sharp and sweet like lemon curd and tells herself this is only the final slip after all she has suffered with Bill, that $10 million is simply the most reasonable exit from a life in chains. Bill folds the file on Andre and Danny and already hears the whisper of a fresher mystery pulling him away, perhaps the shuffling steps of Randy. In Uptown, Vanessa walks beside Danny and catches Haley speaking to a man they call by different names. To Vanessa, he is Randy from the darker corners. To Danny, he is the name that surfaced on a chaotic night of miscarriage. Two labels slide across one blade, and Haley understands her game has become visible from multiple angles, that one mask can't cover every appearance. Before she can stitch on a new layer, Wednesday, episode 156, shoves everyone toward confrontation. Vanessa lays a challenge at Joey's feet, not to test loyalty but to measure his courage to face the truth in Fairmont Crest's static-filled air. Joey corners Randy for an explanation, but the man is trapped between survival instinct and the terror of opening a door that hides both money and guilt. Meanwhile, Uptown introduces a new face. Isaiah Hawthorne, Jacob's brother, arriving like echo from a chapter that was never buried. Eva meets him in a spark-struck coincidence, and their instant chemistry is the call of a storyline poised to crack already fragile alliances. Nicole collides with Leslie in an ugly, familiar beat, where each curl of the other woman's lip can reignite the ash Nicole is trying to grind underfoot. Back home, the anger thins into a flush of embarrassment as Nicole goes to Anita to apologize. Not because she was wrong to push back earlier, but because she understands she has let hatred corrode her gentleness toward the mother who never left. Anita needs no defense, yet the sincerity in her daughter's eyes nudges the compass needle back to calm. Thursday, episode 157, rises on June's advice for Tyrell, an attempt to shim the family table that has wobbled far too long. Tyrell is not easy to forgive, but June's voice holds the shadow of mistakes confessed, and in his reluctant nods sprouts a seed of hope. Elsewhere, Smitty and Martin taste the rare sweetness of reunion, a peace so delicate it is frightening. On the same day, Tomas holds his aching body after a night set ablaze with Kat, while Kat faces guilt that no self-justification can soothe. Every touch that once made them feel alive is now a tally of debts they are unsure they want to pay. Also that day, Haley labels her plan a search for truth, but the truth in her sights is a harbor named Prophet. The idea of killing her husband meets less and less resistance in her mind each time the fear of exposure surges. She times, she counts, she envisions the scent of poison folded into sweetness, and she smiles at a future without Bill's shadow. Friday, episode 158, places Jacob before a familiar stranger, and family grain shines when he sees Isaiah. Their reunion is not moonlight bridging a river, but thunder striking an old crack. Every neglected memory, every unanswered call, every swallowed accusation. Both men hurl it with a first look. Jacob sees in his brother the years he stood alone. Isaiah sees in Jacob the ruler he never asked to be measured against. They embrace the way men do when they have been taught too long to lock emotion in a box. No words, only bodies trembling as the hard shell finally splits. It is a reunion both warm and raw, forcing each to redefine family while fighting separate wars. Jacob is losing his partner to a core difference neither can resolve, and Isaiah steps into Uptown's tangle the moment he drifts into Eva's orbit. On another line, Chelsea decides to do what she believes no one else can. Perhaps the first time she lets instinct lead instead of waiting on a miracle. Danny holds fresh intel about a figure from another world, a name that feels like a bridge across two television universes. The arrival of a symbol like Ridge Forrester, a man who anchors a dynasty, reminds everyone how thin the borders between stories can be and how fame can make this already unstable neighborhood shudder. Vanessa argues with Donnell about the road ahead. She wants him back in school as a path of repair and building, while he sees the degree as another trap of expectations. Meanwhile, Joey extends an offer to one of the DRIs, odd and tempting, as if he is testing his own grip on power. All these choices, however small, collide like flares in the street until they spell a clear warning. In Fairmont Crest, no decision is free at the same time. The daytime world calls out its winners elsewhere, like sunlight breaking across the black water of Fairmont Crest. A brilliant guest star is honored for a turn as Heather Weber on General Hospital. A rising talent from the bold and the beautiful is recognized for the lightning of youth. A supporting actor summons Port Charles with scars named Lucky Spencer. A supporting actress from Genoa City summons the haunt of Diane Jenkins' return. A leading man in Salem distills Xander's fury into a stare. A leading woman stands tall with the steadiness of someone who has weathered it all as Alexis Davis. And both writing and best drama go to General Hospital. Beyond the Gates isn't in this year's race only because of calendar math, but that absence sharpens the ambition of those writing and performing at Fairmont Crest. Looking at the winners does not turn to petty envy. It becomes fuel. The next BTG scenes must clamp tighter onto raw nerves. Nicole's rage must have depth beyond shouting. Ted's remorse must not wither into self-pity. Leslie's scheming must carry a cost worth more than a few minutes of glee. Haley's arithmetic must reflect the face of greed. And marriages must collapse not only because affairs are exposed, but because two life maps were never the same to begin with. When the week ends, what lingers is not answers, but the scorched smell of kitchens where people try to bury poison beneath sugar. The faint ring of a string Vernon has not yet dared to play for Anita. The ice in Leslie's eyes when she is shoved onto the defensive. The broken warmth in an unspoken embrace between Jacob and Isaiah. The short breath in Nicole's chest when she forces herself to set down a chapter she once believed was the only life she would ever have. Fairmont Crest braces for slow, sure consequences. A fresh investigation from Bill might brush the hand holding the knife. A single decision from Chelsea might tip a balance. An offer from Joey might open a door so many assumed was locked. A step from Isaiah might change the smell of the uptown wind. And while everyone stares at the glittering horizon of awards season, this neighborhood keeps whispering old lessons. No one wins forever on cheap tricks. No love survives if it only demands. And no anger truly settles until it is weighed beside self-respect and truth. Another week will come. New plots will be shoved into the furnace. Relationships will face more heat, and the price will keep climbing. At Beyond the Gates, every choice is a cut, and those who keep walking are the ones who have learned to live with the scar. Thank you for taking the time to watch my video. All the content I make is just speculation and personal sharing. If you find the video interesting and useful, please support me with a like and leave a comment. If you have better ideas or more interesting speculations, please share them in the comments section for everyone to discuss. I appreciate all your contributions and support. Sincerely, thank you.